On the early morning of September 4th, 2020, a tragic incident unfolded on LaSalle Avenue in Niagara Falls, New York. The victim was Mariah Wilson, a 28-year-old single mother of two who was deeply loved by her family and community. Mariah was brutally attacked inside her home while her two young children were in a nearby bedroom. She was beaten, sexually assaulted, and fatally shot in a horrific act of violence. Hours later, her 10-year-old daughter awoke to the devastating scene and called 911, bringing police to the home. When officers arrived, they found Mariah deceased and immediately began investigating what they determined to be a homicide. Through careful work at the scene, they discovered crucial evidence that eventually pointed to someone Mariah knew, a person connected to her own family circle. Authorities kept the suspect's identity private while gathering DNA evidence and following leads. The investigation was challenging and stretched over many months, with police maintaining a tight-lipped approach to avoid jeopardizing the case. Eventually, their relentless efforts paid off, and the suspect was arrested and charged with Mariah Wilson's murder. This is her story. Mariah Wilson was born on June 6, 1992, in Niagara Falls, New York. From an early age, Mariah was described as a curious and fun-loving child. She enjoyed singing and dancing, often entertaining her family and friends with her performances. As she grew older, Mariah attended a public school in Niagara Falls and later enrolled at Niagara Falls High School, where she eventually graduated. However, shortly after finishing high school, Mariah became pregnant and gave birth to a baby girl. Motherhood changed Mariah's life completely. Her world began to revolve around her child, and a few years later she welcomed her second child, a baby boy. Mariah adored her two children deeply and worked tirelessly to build a brighter future for them. By 2020, at just 28 years old, Mariah was a single mother of two, living with her children on LaSalle Avenue in Niagara Falls. She took on various jobs to provide for her family, including working at Dollar General and occasionally waitressing at a local restaurant. These jobs offered her a stable income, which she used to care for her children. Mariah was known for her incredible work ethic and determination. Despite the responsibilities of adulthood, Mariah never let go of her passion for singing and dancing. She often incorporated her children into her creative pursuits, making dances and funny videos for TikTok. That same year, Mariah began planning for a major change in her life. She had dreams of moving to North Carolina to explore new opportunities and create a better future for her family. She had set November 2020 as the month for her big move. Back in Niagara Falls, Mariah was well loved by many. She was a cherished friend and a beloved member of her community. She often spent time socializing with her friends and family on her porch. Mariah was known for her vibrant personality, warm heart, and beautiful smile. She was always there for the people she cared about, especially during their toughest times. Sadly, Mariah never got the chance to pursue her dreams. Before she could move to North Carolina, tragedy struck. In the early morning hours of September 4th, 2020, a terrifying incident unfolded. Police received a frantic call from a young child who had discovered their mother unresponsive. Officers rushed to the scene at LaSalle Avenue, where they found 28-year-old Mariah Wilson deceased. Heartbreakingly, the call had been made by Mariah's 10-year-old daughter, who had witnessed the aftermath of the tragedy. Upon examining the scene, investigators discovered that Mariah had been brutally beaten. Her body bore multiple bruises and injuries, leading authorities to immediately rule her death as a homicide. The police cordoned off the area and carefully combed through the scene for evidence. Unfortunately, the amount of physical evidence collected was minimal and offered little help to investigators. Facing this challenge, authorities decided to involve the media to generate leads from the public. The news of Mariah's murder devastated her family and friends. The entire community of Niagara Falls was in shock. What made the tragedy even more painful was knowing that Mariah's two children would now grow up without their mother, who had been their biggest source of love and support. An autopsy was conducted on Mariah's body, but by that time, police still had no suspects or solid leads. They interviewed her friends and family, hoping for answers, but no one could think of anyone who would want to harm Mariah. The investigation quickly became challenging due to the lack of information. A vigil was held in Mariah's honor, where loved ones gathered to remember her and keep her story alive. Mariah's family remained determined to seek justice despite having very little information about her killer. Days turned into weeks, but there were still no leads. The family repeatedly reached out to law enforcement for updates, but each time they were only told that the investigation was ongoing and that no new information could be shared. As weeks stretched into months, the case grew cold. The community became increasingly concerned, fearing that the perpetrator might strike again. Mariah's family continued to demand answers, pushing the authorities to hold another media briefing. Unfortunately, this renewed effort also produced very few tips. However, shortly afterward, investigators privately informed Mariah's family that they had identified a person of interest. The police didn't disclose the person's identity, but revealed that they had collected DNA evidence from the crime scene and were awaiting test results. This left Mariah's family frustrated and in the dark. Months passed with no progress. On June 6, 2021, which would have been Mariah's 29th birthday, her family and friends came together to celebrate her life. Her children, community members, and loved ones attended the event. While they honored Mariah's memory, everyone was still deeply unsettled because they had no answers about who had taken her life or why. By this point, 14 months had passed since Mariah's murder, and no arrests had been made. During this time, Mariah's children had been in their bedroom during the attack, completely unaware of what had happened until it was too late. Mariah's family visited the district attorney's office seeking updates, but the office refused to name their suspect. They even stopped returning the family's calls, forcing them to beg for communication, which added to their pain and frustration. The family feared that Mariah's killer could have been someone they knew. Finally, 18 months after Mariah's murder, authorities announced that they had made an arrest. Initially, they withheld details from the public. A few days later, the Niagara County District Attorney revealed to Mariah's family that the suspect was 29-year-old Betrayal M. Hudson, who also lived on LaSalle Avenue. Hudson was arrested and charged with Mariah's murder, though officials declined to share many specifics about the case at that point. When Betrayal Hudson appeared in court, he pleaded not guilty, claiming that investigators had zero evidence to convict him. However, when the jury deliberated, it took them only 3 hours to find Hudson guilty of first-degree murder. Hudson was sentenced to 45 years to life in prison. Additionally, he received another 20-year sentence for his involvement in a convenience store robbery, which he had committed alongside Mariah's nephew. Mariah's nephew later pleaded guilty to the robbery charges and is also currently serving time. During the trial, prosecutors revealed the chilling events of that night. Between 12 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. on September 4, 2020, Hudson entered Mariah's home. Once inside, he savagely beat her and sexually assaulted her. Although the brutal beating alone was enough to end Mariah's life, Hudson wasn't finished. He then pulled out a firearm and shot her. While this horrific attack took place, Mariah's 2 children were in the next bedroom, completely unaware of the danger. Hours later, Mariah's 10-year-old daughter woke up and discovered her mother's lifeless body. The trial was closed to the media. So many details remain unknown, including the exact evidence that led to Hudson's conviction. Mariah's porch was a popular hangout spot for friends and family. Mariah's nephew often brought his close friend there, and that friend was Betrayal Hudson. Hudson also happened to be the father of Mariah's niece's child, which made his betrayal even more shocking. The motive for the murder remains unclear, as Hudson still claims his innocence to this day. However, investigators pieced together some events leading up to the crime. The day before Mariah's murder, Hudson and Mariah's nephew robbed a 7-Eleven convenience store. They managed to escape and were on the run. That same night, Mariah reportedly called police to report 2 unwanted visitors at her home. It remains unknown if police ever responded to that call. Hours after that call, Mariah was found dead. Investigators discovered no signs of forced entry, which suggested that Mariah knew her killer. It is believed that Hudson and his accomplice may have been looking for a place to hide from authorities after the robbery. Mariah, being a protective mother, likely asked them to leave her home to keep her children safe. When they refused, she called the police. Tragically, this may have escalated into the confrontation that cost Mariah her life. To this day, the true motive behind Mariah Wilson's murder remains a mystery. May Mariah Wilson rest in peace.